So, Omud Yom Shabbos, we're learning the halachos of Tzeda. Let's restart from the Mishnah. Yoshev echad ala Pesach v'lo mil'ahu. A deer came into someone's house. Now, one person sat, if you sit by the door, there's an open door, open window that the deer can run through, and you blocked it by sitting there, you're doing Tzeda. Because if you're sitting, now the deer cannot run away. You are actively trapping him indoors. Now, Yoshev echad al Pesach v'lo milau. One guy sat by the door halfway through, and their door still has some open space. Yoshev Hashenu milo. The second guy came and filled up the space. Hasheni chayev. The second guy is chayev. The second guy is the one who filled in the space entirely. Now the deer is trapped because the one who really filled in the last bit is the second guy. He's a kind of maki bepatish. He's chayev. Second case, Yoshev Rishon al Pesach umil'ahu. The first guy sat by the door and filled in the entire space of the door. Now the deer cannot run away. The first guy, he's culpable. He's the one who caused the deer to stay inside, trapped. Uba Sheni v'Yoshev b'tzidoi. The second guy came. He does it very smart in the Mishnah with the picture back to back. One guy is really filling it all up. The second guy is sitting back to back, and then the first guy, the really bad kid, he already left the place. Now the second guy is preserving the existing situation of Tzeda. He's not trapping or hunting. He's rather containing and maintaining the tzvi inside the house. Arishon chayev v'asheni potur. The first guy is chayev. He's chayev. He's the one who really trapped him. The second guy is potur because he just preserved the situation. He did not create the situation. That's why it's potur. Now, the Mishnah compares it. What is it like? What is it likened to? A person locks his house in order to guard the house, to lock in the house. Now, why do you lock your door? That's a very silly question. I have the shas, I have my tefillin, I have my candlesticks, I have my computers, and you know what? I also have a deer running around the house. Just if I lock the door of my house, I'm explaining this according to the Ritva, and later I'll explain the whole thing already now according to the Ritva. Basically, the story is as follows. It's clear that if I lock my house in order to lock the house, going on holiday, going away, your crime neighborhood or Arabs, you lock the door. Now, and there's a deer running around. Everyone agrees that it's okay to lock the door, even though the deer is locked inside, and it's not a problem of psik resha. The question is why? Although I know there's a deer inside, there's a machloikis, really hard to define it. But according to the Ritva, even though I know the deer is inside, but my main kavana says the Ritva, chafotzov, I have lots of objects over there. The fact that it's also a deer, it's better than psik resha. He doesn't say why. And that's why it's allowed. I'll explain more later. Says the Mishnah, if you preserve the deer inside, in other words, the first guy, he's a bad boy. He blocked the deer. The second guy came and there to continue the next shift. Because the first guy wants to go make Kiddush on Shabbos. The first guy left. Look, bye-bye, says the criminal. And the second guy maintains to maintain the deer inside the house after it's trapped already. That's not a problem at all. And it's likened to someone who wants to just lock his door and he has tons of things there, and he also preserves the deer. And we're going to explain more as we go along in the Gemara. But we'll sooner, okay, I don't spoon feed you, we'll see it all in the Gemara. Amar Biaba Amar B'chia Barashi. Says Rababa B'shem Rav Chia Barashi. Amara. Nichnas al tzipor tachas knofov. A person wearing a long coat, a bekishe on Shabbos, or he wears some kind of long jacket, and a bird came under the wings, so to speak, under his jacket, under his cloak, and now the bird itself trapped itself. I didn't trap it. Now, I like that bird. Maybe it's kosher bird. Maybe I want to play with it or want to eat it afterwards. And can I preserve it and just stay put, making sure that the bird stays where it is? The answer is yes. Yoshev v'mishamroi achetech is allowed to sit there the whole Shabbos, not move anywhere, because he likes it that there's a bird under his kapite, under the bekiche, and he wants to sit there until Motzei Shabbos. You should bring him the Havdalah over there because he's staying frozen. He wants to keep the bird inside. Okay, so preserving a situation of tzeda is okay. Okay. Meitzer von Nachman Yitzchak is asking a question. Yoshev Rishon ala Pesach. Look what it says in our very own Mishnah. The first guy sat by the door, umil ohu. He completely filled the space of the door. Poor deer is now stuck inside because of the first guy. Uba Sheni v'Yoshev betzidoi. The second guy came and sat back to back with him. Right now, Afu b'shoma the Rishon. The first guy, who was the real hunter, the real trapper, he left already. But the second guy is maintaining the situation of Tzeda. Arishon Chayav, Hasheni Patu. The first guy is Chayav, he trapped. The second guy, right, as opposed to what I said in the Mishnah, what's Patu? The second guy who's maintaining the situation is Patu. Well, last time I checked, Patu means what? My love. Also, the whole Shabbos, there's a rule. We learned in Daf Gimel, and the Rambam says, and everybody says, Potur means it's also with the Rabbanon. So we see that the Mishnah seems to be not so hot and not so crazy about maintaining existing situation of Tzeda. It says you're Potur, but the Eved, we're not going to do anything to you. But it's forbidden. So how are you telling me that if I have a bird who came under my shirt, under my thing, I'm allowed to keep it there? Why? We see that it's potur, but still forbidden. It's still also from the Rabbanon. We don't make fun of the Rabbanon. And says the Gemara, here comes a big punch. Loi potur mutar. Boom. And that's what I told you all along. This is one of the, in Daf Gimel, remember Daf Gimel? Long ago. There are 3 cases we're going to see, and we saw in Daf Gimel, 3 cases in Shabbos where the word potur does not mean potur, but also means potur, and it's allowed lechatchila. And this is one of the 3 exceptions. To maintain a trapped animal inside after it's been trapped already is okay, and it's allowed. This too makes sense. It says in the Seifa, lemaz doime lenoilas vesel shomroi, benim tzvichomo besoichoi. Now I will explain everything which I said in the Mishnah Be'ezras Hashem. What does the Seifa say? The Seifa compares a guy who is bemazid. The second guy is not, don't offer him as a shidduch to my daughter, as they say. The second guy, is not such a tzaddik. What? He knows he's maintaining the tzvi indoors, right? Knowing that it was trapped on Shabbos. Maybe he's lifnei iver, maybe not a nice guy, but that's still allowed. Maybe it's just potur, says Mishnah. No. We compare, I'm basing myself on the Ritva. We compare the guy who maintains the existing situation after the first guy left to a very innocent person who locks the door of his house and has 100 items there, $1,000 each, and there's also a deer. Just like that case is clearly mutar, and we don't say psik reisha, because when I lock my house, and I have many, many reasons to lock my house, right? And the deer is just one of them, it's clearly okay. It's not even called doing any pe'ula of Isser. Mimela, the Chiddush is, so too the guy who maintains the deer, even though he's not such a tzaddik, he's not so good, because he does have in mind to keep the deer inside. In a way, it's a shtickle mezid. That's the Chiddush. That's the Chiddush. We say, when I want to tell you about, let's say Rabbi tells, I'll give an example. You're asking a question to a Rav, about chicken. That's a shayla. And the Rav says, no, that's as mutter as eating an egg. The Gemara brings this example. What does it mean? Just like egg is for sure okay to eat, so too that chicken is not a shayla, right? That's the thing over here. Even though you may think it's also to maintain the tzeda, says Mishnah, no, it's so okay. It's so allowed l'chatchila, just like a guy who locks his door and has 1,000 things there, and tzvi is just one of them. That's exactly the chiddush. Meaning it's mutar l'chatchila. I think the reason why maintaining a house where there's many other things besides the deer is okay, I don't think it's psik reisha. I'll tell that's my own opinion. I may be wrong. Psik reisha means when I have 2 actions. One allowed, one not allowed. So it's 50-50. When you walk to shul and when you're stepping on the ants in the way, or you open the fridge, there are 2 things you're doing. Opening the fridge and there's a light coming. That's psik reisha. Here I have 100 items and 1 deer. Meaning, if I lock the door of the zoo, I'm a zookeeper, and I lock the door of the zoo, and I'm closing the door, that would be also maybe. Because Lamaisa, that situation, I have kavanah for the deer, right? But that's what the Ritva says, chafotzov. When I have many items, the deer is like bottle. It's not so choshev. Kach nearly. But the first case of the Mishnah, I'm not trapping at all. I'm maintaining the trapped animal, and that's allowed l'chatchila. As if I'm locking the door between us. That's how the Mishnah goes. Now, Ikadamri, Omar of Nachman bar Yitzchak, excuse me, Baruch atah Adonai. Ikadamri of Nachman bar Yitzchak. Some say, quoting Nachman bar Yitzchak, Afanana mitnina. We also learned in the Mishnah, even though the first guy who originally trapped the animal went and walked away, yeah, the second guy is potu, potu mutar. You think it's potu mutar, right? It's potu and it's okay, right? Says the Gemara, loy potu also. Oh, the other way around. The Gemara is the same thing the other way around. No, maybe potu means potu of. Who told you this idea? Potter always means potter of a losser, and here too, with no exception, says the Gemara, no, I'll prove you wrong. It's an exception to the rule here. Here, potter must mean potter and mutter allowed lechatchila. B'diktani seifa lemazi doy melonoles beiso l'shoimroi v'nim tzatvi shomo b'soichoi. Since we see that the Gemara compares it to a person who locks his door to guard his house, which is an absolutely normal thing to do. It's not even psik resha. I'm locking my door for 5,000 reasons. And nimtza tzvi, the tzvi is just one item out of many. In other words, to be a bit more balabatish, let's say a person has a parrot who flies around the house. It happens to people. The parrot flies around the house, not in the cage, but the second there's an open door, he would fly out. Are you going to tell that person to always keep his door open and allow all the gangsters, all the burglars, and all the Arabs, terrorists? Of course not. Yeah, it's not normal. So therefore, too, right? Just like it's clear you're allowed to lock the door, even though there's also a deer inside, and it's a secondary thing. And we compare it to the guy who maintains the back-to-back guy, the one who maintains the tzvi inside. Michla de potter mutter shmamina. Must be that it's potter and mutter. Must be that this is exception to the rule, and here potter does not mean also potter or mutter. Why? Because if the animal is, this is not like locking the door. Let me explain again. When you are back to back, that guy is a real criminal. He's a bad guy. We assume it's shoygig. He doesn't know it's Shabbos. Fine. But that's what he's doing is also. Comes the second guy, knowing that he's maintaining the safety, safe and sound, that you should stay inside, right? And the first guy left. The second guy, it's allowed. You're allowed to do it. It's a big chiddush because you're Mesel Dvar Vera. But without trapping, you're not trapping. You're maintaining the trapped animal. It's not a tolda of tzeda. It's a chiddush, but it's not a tolda, and it's allowed. It's a chiddush, but that's what the Mishnah says. Omar Shmuel, here comes the line which we said in Daf Gimel Amud Aleph, donkeys of years ago. Omar Shmuel, Kol Ptur de Shabbos, Potur Bal Osu. All, whenever the Mishnah in Shabbos says Potur, it means Potur b'di'eved, but don't do it at home. Don't try it at home. It's also the Rabbanon. Leba manitlas, with the exception of these three cases, the potter umuta. It's potter and it's allowed l'chatchila. Although it says potter, you're allowed to do it to begin with. Chada ho. The first case out of the three is we're counting them. Number one, this one, that case of the Mishnah of the deer. I mean, my the potter mutter. I didn't know it's potter mutter. Again, we say for the third time. The Ktani Seifa, the Seifa compares it to something that's clearly mutter. It's like asking, is this chicken okay? It's mutter like, like bread and butter, like no question, like an egg. I'm guarding my house in order to keep the house. The deer is lav dafka in my mind. The deer is like a secondary thing, or a bird. The guy is a cat. Yeah. The cat is not so obedient. He may run away. He locks his door for a million reasons. The cat is also there, shkoyach. And if he has a house full of cats and the door is open and he's locking the door only for the cats, it would be also avada. But that's not the case. So too, the guy who maintains the animal inside, but it's l'chatchila allowed. L'chatchila it's allowed. That's case number one of potter, and it's an exception, means potter umuter. Case number two. The idach, the second case of potter umuter, Hamefis Musa b'Shabbos. We are in Daf Kuv Zayin Amud Aleph. Hamefis Musa b'Shabbos. A person is basically making a hole in a Musa. Musa, also in modern Hebrew, Musa means it's basically like a pussy wound. This a bubble with pus inside. You go crazy to poke it, and It's like with a mugla inside, pas. Like a petza mugla bifnim. Yeah. So now a meifis smusa b'Shabbos. Question: are you allowed to? Let's say there's no blood coming out. That's a different question. Assume there's no blood. Okay. Let's say it's only pus, and you want to make a hole in order to let it out. Let what? Drain. Thank you. That's right. Yeah, it's oozing out. You want to drain it out. A meifis smusa b'Shabbos depends. Yeah, we're a few lines before the Mishnah or before the end of the parak. Im lasos lape chayev. If you want to make it nice and professional, you're a doctor, you're a nurse, or you're a good mommy, and you want to make a nice opening that would be nice and very professionally done, yeah, medically done, and the idea is you want to have like an opening to your body that lets out the pus and lets in the good air, yeah, the cold air. That is a problem of bone. Bone, yes. Ritva reminds us, bone applies to the human body. Where did we see that? Again, the Ritva reminds us in Daf Tzadi here with Aleph on the top of the page. That was with the braid. Why can't a woman braid her hair? Because the Torah says that the Kodesh Baruch Hu built Chava Vayiven, he built her by making braids. So we see that conceptually, Lefidas Chazal, binyan applies to people, to body, and therefore, if you build like doctors sometimes they build, like a certain opening in a professional way, that's chayav. Yeah, building is meant for in and out. Yes, out the pus in the air. However, so that's a chayav. So where's the mutar? If the idea is, I'm not doing it professionally, I'm not trying to bring in the air, I just want to poke a hole very unprofessionally, just to make a hole to let the pus out. All I want is, the whole thing should drain, and the pain will be over, and all this hot, yucky feeling. Then I am potter, and it's potter umutter. Now, why? I'm again following the Ritva here the whole time. Rashi is harder to understand. The Ritva says very simple. We pass it like Reb Shimon. When I make that hole, you can call it a house and a building as much as you want. I just want the hole, not for the hole. I'm not trying to have a hole here and go to the doctor tomorrow with a hole for a checkup. All I want is the pus to come out. That's gufa. I created a hole in order to empty the hole, not to have the hole. In the first case, he wants the hole because he wants air coming in. In the second case, he doesn't want air coming in. All he wants is to have the hole because he just wants out. It's actually very similar to digging a hole in order to get out the sand. Classical, super classical case in Dafin Gimel Beis or Enzich Lagufa. I don't need that hole. As far as I'm concerned, let it fill in. And actually, it's true. When you have a hole from the past, you want it to be filled with flesh, with good things. I don't want the hole. It's just enetzich lagufa. Now, enetzich lagufa is potter. So why do you say it's potter or mutter? We might the potter or mutter. How do you know I'm allowed lechatchila to make a hole and poke a hole in order to drain? Maybe it's potter because enetzich lagufa potter obel osur. How do you know it's mutter? That nan. It says in the Mishnah about muktzeh. Machat shel yad little by sakot. Let me explain. Before I read the Gemara, actually, I'll tell you the why before the next piece. Very, very easy. You know why Chazal allowed you to perforate that hole in order to get the pus out, to drain it out? Because of tsar, sa'al. In other words, in certain things Chazal allowed us when you have when you have mitigating circumstances. For example, the person suffering, and it's enetzricha lagufa, which is only the Rabbanon. Rabbanon stepped, took a few steps backwards, and said you're allowed to do it in order to alleviate your pain. That's why it's allowed. As those of the Ritva. I'm not halacha l'maisa, but that's halacha. Now, where is the source? It's all very nice bars, but how do you know in the Mishnayos that you're allowed to poke the hole in order to drain it out? How do you know it's allowed? That's none. Machat shel yad little by sakoitz. We're going eventually to learn a pair called Kol HaKelim about muktzeh. As we all know, one very, very classical type of muktzeh out of the many types that exist is Kli shemalachtu le'isul. A pencil, a pen, a needle. It's a kli. It's not a stone. It's a kli. It's a utensil made in China, usually, sometimes Turkey. And what? And what? And you are not allowed to use it because it's meant for melochas. But when I can't use a regular kli, I'm allowed to use that kli. It's called tzorich gufoy. Yeah, I'm allowed to take a pen, let's say, to I don't know, to mix the tea. I don't know with the right side of the pen. Yeah, I don't have a spoon. I don't have a knife. I'll use the pen, something like that. Same thing over here. Machat shel yad, the small needle, which is usually meant for sewing and is also. You're allowed to take it, and it overrides the muktzah. It's called soirach gufoy, in order to take little esakotz, to take the chotz, to take out the splinter. Yeah. Okay. Why? Or the thorn? Because although you're making a hole, when you take out the thorn, you can create a hole because that hole is there just to take something out. I don't want the hole. I want another. I have a secondary reason for the hole. Ain't a tzricha gufa of getting the thorn out. So you see, it's allowed. If it wouldn't be allowed, how can you take the machat? How can you take the needle? You're allowed to take the needle. Chatchila mashma, it's allowed. That's pshat. The idach, third case. Tzad nochosh b'Shabbos. Very nice. A person is trapping a snake on Shabbos. Why would you trap a snake on Shabbos? Oh, well, if I like snakes, some people do. Let's say I collect snakes. I'm asking you a question. He's a snake collector. He has a snake from Papua New Guinea and from South Africa. He doesn't have a snake yet from the Golan. And he's trapping the snake for a snake. He's chayav. He wants it. It's tzricha legufa. I want the hunting. I want the result. However, as Jason is saying very well, we're not even talking about life danger. That's a chiddush. You misasek, meaning misasek, we all know is like not the kavana dike, not the regular kavana. And misasek, I have a secondary reason. I'm not interested in the snake. Alevai wouldn't be here. But the snake is running around the house. Everyone's going crazy. He may bite them, even if he won't bite them to death. Even if it would just be painful or indirectly maybe dangerous. It's a big chiddush. Potter, what? It's not even the groma. No, it's not groma. He's trapping in Beyadayim. He's trapping in Beyadayim, as far as I know. There is something that you're saying in Seder, by the way. You're right, but I don't think over here. So now we say, so, im Potter, im l'rafua chayev. What did I tell you? If you want the snake, you want it for medical reasons. You want to use the venom of the snake to make vaccinations, right? Then you want the eres, you want the venom, then you because you want it. How do you know that if I trap the snake in order to get rid of it, the snake is very, very scary, you can drive people crazy, or it's going to cause them pain? How do you know it's allowed? We're not talking pikuach nefesh. The Tnan, it says you're allowed l'chatchila. Why you're allowed before the what? Why? Same reason. It's enet tzricha legufa. According to Rashi, what's enet tzricha legufa? Halevai, there wouldn't be a snake. I'm not happy that I trapped the snake. Halevai, the snake wouldn't be anywhere in the world. I hate them. Elamai, enet tzricha legufa. Enet tzricha legufa is also when there's a sakana of real pain, pachad, then we say it is allowed. Because in case of tsar, Rabbanan allowed enet tzricha legufa. Don't extrapolate that to your own lives. Each case is different. How do you know it's allowed? Meaning, it's all very nice logically. How do you know that this is so? Give me a source in the Mishnahs. That none. It says in the Mishnah, we saw the Mishnah before, it says, "Koifin ke'or alaner b'shvil shelo techos b'koiro." The case is as follows. Let's say you have a candle in a small house, bungalow in America. You have a small wooden home, like tzimerim, a small wooden cabin, and you have a candle, and it gets a little bit too close for comfort between the flame and the wooden top. Now, it's not sakanas nefashos. I could run away and let it burn, and nobody would be hurt, right? Let's say. I'm still allowed to do what? I'm allowed to koifin. I'm allowed to basically put an upside-down kli on the fire with allowing some oxygen. I'm not extinguishing it, but I'm minimizing the fire. I'm putting the fire under control with some kind of like a lantern that has a hole but contains most of the fire. So the fire shouldn't catch the coil, the beam. I think we thought the beam that's a bit bent should not be burnt by the fire. What's the chiddush? There's no chiddush there. What wrong did I do? The chiddush is that the koiro and the fire are both muktzeh. And there is an opinion over there that says I'm not allowed to move anything for muktzah. Remember, in klinital elo tzavdavonital, the end of Perek Shlishi, that just like you can't move muktzah, there's an opinion that says I'm not allowed to move things for muktzah. I'm not allowed to serve muktzah. Kamash malan, we don't hold by that opinion. You're allowed, as long as you touch the muktzah and move it, right? I didn't touch the koira, I didn't touch the fire. I just covered the fire from a safe distance, and it didn't touch anything, that's okay. Even though I'm serving the purpose of muktzah, it's fine. Now, in the same thing about soya shel cotton, you also cover the gdoilim, the big stuff, the excrement of the cotton of the baby. You cover it, even though it's muktzah, because of hygiene reasons. Val akrav shelo tishach. Opa. This is trapping. This is dangerous. You have an akrav. You have a scorpion. That's big business scorpion. Even if it's not going to kill you, your wife will be a chol nefesh, or kids would be hurt even without dying. Fine. Fine. Good. Let's continue. I'm sorry, there was a break. So unexpected. Let's continue into the new perek. So I don't know what you heard. Let me just repeat. An akrav, you have a scorpion in the house, not pleasant. It may damage and harm people, even without killing them, not pikuach nefesh. You're allowed to trap it. Why? Trapping of itself is ein tzricha legufa. Ein tzricha legufa is an issa d'Rabbanon, as we pass like Reb Shimon. The Rabbanon sometimes allow you to do an tzricha legufa, heim omru, v'heim omru. They allow you to trap in order to avoid tsar, to avoid pain and discomfort. Shmoine shotzim. Says the Eilige Mishnah, a new perek. This perek deals with, again, Tzeda and also Chabala, which means there are two main prohibitions to do with animals, maybe more. One of them is trapping, which we started discussing before. And there's another prohibition of causing the animals to bleed or to bruise. Right? Okay? So now, let's say a person caused a bruise to an animal. Let's say a real animal, a mammal, a cow, a dog. Yeah, clearly, if you bruise the animal and you're interested in that, you want the bruise for whichever reason, you're kind of one of three reasons. Rashi says it's either because Rashi and Tosfos say because it's shchita, you're killing the animal in a kind of minimal way, right? In some small way, that part of the body has been damaged. Haka'o miktsas misa, there's a concept. Second reason Rashi says, if you like the looks of the bruises, you bruise the animal because you like, that's the style you want for your animal. That's tzoveya. You're coloring, you're dyeing. And the third reason in the Rambam is dash. The Rambam says because extracting the blood from its source, which is the veins, and it's osir. Now, let me explain before we continue. Not any trapping is chayiv. We just saw literally a few seconds ago. If I trap an animal because I don't want it, halevai, this disgusting mosquito, snake, bee wouldn't be there. I'm not trying to gain it. I'm trying to get rid of it. Then what? It's ein tzricha legufa. There's a second, people confuse the two, but it's not the same. Sometimes you're potter because of ein b'minoi nitzoid. Let's say the kind of animals, the type of animal which most normal human beings are not interested in. Let's say it is what, for example, a mosquito. Unless you're some kind of scientist or a kid who's a little bit bored, right? Lamaisa, ein b'minoi nitzoid, we're going to discuss this later. The type of animal is normally not trapped for good reasons. Then even if you do it for a good reason, right? According to some people, I'm being careful because it's not so simple what I'm saying, but generally speaking, it's like a crazy thing to do. Shinui. It's not normal to trap this kind of animal, so you potter. Okay? Now, when it comes to bruising the animal, I'm going back to the first issue of bruising. The Gemara will discuss now, this is a very important introduction for the whole perek, at least at the beginning. Some animals don't have a skin. For example, an ant. Look at an ant to fly. They don't have a proper layer called skin, right? You can't bruise an ant. Once you cut it, right? You put a cut into a let's say a cow or a heat, there will be a bruise. The blood will stay there. What's a bruise? The blood is nitzra, collects under the skin. That's a halachic definition. When the blood is collected in the skin or between the skin and the flesh, that's called bruising and yuchayas. But if the animal's skin is so thin, it's not a skin, you can't bruise an ant or a fly because they're so small and the skin is so insignificant, it's not called skin. And if you hit them and you manage not to kill them, then it's not called choivel because there's nothing significant that stayed as a bruise. That's the idea in general. Now, having that in mind, we can start the Mishnah. Says the Mishnah, and another introduction. I wish I had more time. I'm sorry, I didn't come so well prepared today. The Torah in Parshas Shmini gives us the names of 8 different shrotzim. Shrotzim doesn't mean insects. Now, it's in modern Hebrew. Shrotzim also means insects. Shmona shrotzim means all kinds of reptiles, amphibians. These are 8 specific animals, which we'll discuss more tomorrow. These Shmona shrotzim, the Gemara is going to discuss. A mouse, a toad, a mole, a lizard, a monitor lizard called koach. These kind of animals, 8 of those, right? The gecko, these animals, they are the Shmoina Shrotzim mentioned in the Torah, like mole and that stuff. Shmoina Shrotzim among the Torah. The 8 Shrotzim mentioned in the Torah, which are reptiles and the like. At Tzadan, those who trap them, v'achoyvel ben chayev. If you trap them, you chayev. Some people like to play with lizards, or they like to play with, I don't know, the toad. They want it. So you trapped it on purpose. You chayev. And you want them. They're not harmful. You want to play with them. You want them for whichever reason. Scientific research. You chayev. What about a choyvel? Whatever. Yeah, could be. So yeah, people collect all kinds of nutty animals. Now, what's a choyvel behen? If a person hit them and they have a bruise, the chiddush is, although these reptiles are not as big like mammals, the chiddush is it's considered that they have a skin, and therefore the bruise that you caused is called a real halachic bruise, and you chayev. If the skin was too thin, it's not called a bruise because it's choizer. It right away vanishes into nothing. You don't have enough skin to have blood collected for a significant amount of time. Those Shmona Shrotzim are big and strong enough, and they have enough of a skin to be considered as chabolo and an isser of shoichet, whatever that is. Now the other shkotzim elmosim, the other insects, the smaller ones, the ant, the bee, the spider, achoyvel ben potu. The one who smacks them is potu. Why? If they're not dead, they don't have a skin to have the bruise. Even if they're bruised, it's nothing really happened. It's gonna go back to its original state right away. At Tzadan, let's say you trap all types of funny animals. Let's say chayev. Oh, if you have the need to trap the ant or the bee, you are chayev, right? And we're ignoring now, according to Tosfos, the point of ein b'mino nitzoid. If I trap an ant and I want it, I need the ant for scientific research, I'm chayev. Shelo letzorech patu. In other words, if I don't need the ant, the assumption is, yeah, I trapped it because it's disgusting. I don't need it. If I don't need the ant, the assumption is it's ena tzricha lagufa. Most people don't need ants, right? Unless they have a specific need. If I trap them, the assumption is I'm not chayiv. It's more noted to either ena tzricha lagufa or ein b'mino nitzoid. Either because I don't have the need, I just want to get rid of it, or because this kind of animal is normally not hunted. So unless I'm dafka into hunting ants, if I'm parav, I'm potter, because the normal situation is not to hunt them. It's ein b'mino nitzod. There are 2 different shotim. Oh, let's explain. Let's say you have an animal, in your possession. You have a parrot, you have rabbits, they're in your reshus. Now, and you trap them indoors, which means they're not completely free. They're indoors, and you hunt them inside the house. They're not so domesticated. They still run away from you. But lemaisa, because their area of livelihood is quite limited already, they're already trapped. They're not in the big out. They're not in the big world out there. So if you tzad them, you're potter. We'll discuss it more later. In other words, it's not called proper trapping from complete freedom into complete jail. It's like another smaller scale of trapping indoors. So you potter of al osir. If you hit the regular chayav oif that have skin, because they have proper skin, you chayav by hitting them because they have a real skin, they have real bruises that stay for a long time. It's significant shel mamish, and you chayav. That's mamish, just a taste of the Mishnah. Unfortunately, we can't continue. I apologize. It's 9:55 to be continued tomorrow. So tomorrow we'll start from the Gemara, and hopefully everything will be clearer. Thank you very much, Rabbi Shkoyach Godel. Really appreciate the participation. Atzlocha bracha to YouTube participants and to Torah anytime. Thank you.